The Reverend Dr. David Clark.
Mr Speaker, I'd be delighted to provide some of the clarification that member asked for. He asked about the New Zealand business number, and we have supported that to Select Committee. But we do have some reservations because we know that his own government departments have been squabbling over whether it's really possible and whether it isn't just another overhead on small business. His government has been responsible for so many overheads on small business, it is not funny. Even his own departments, government departments that he likes to beat up on, want fewer overheads on small business, and they are suspicious that this government is introducing another overhead, one that it can't even deliver on properly with the New Zealand business number. Time will tell. We'll see what small businesses actually think about it. We'll ask the IRD why they don't think they can use the IRD numbers, which would be a much simpler and more cost-effective way of solving the same problem. But I'm sure that member will have a reason. He always has a reason. He has a reason he's overcharging on ACC levies. He has a reason that rural broadband has only reached 8,500 households despite costing over $60 million. That's $7,000 per connection. He'll have a reason they haven't reached surplus for the 7th year in a row. He'll have a reason that exchange rates are much higher and that the government can do nothing about it. He'll have a reason that the flag is the top priority for New Zealand. He'll have a reason and an excuse. They always do on that side of the House. They always have excuses. And we heard plenty of them in the budget. We heard plenty of excuses. That member has gone surprisingly silent. I will listen for any further interjections from him. There are none from that member over there. In fact, it's difficult to even pick him out. He seems to have crawled under his desk. Mr. Speaker, this is a government of broken promises. This is a budget of broken promises. I guess at least it is in theme. Let's have a look at some of the ones that they've delivered recently. So they told us their central campaign promise going into this recent election was reaching budget surplus. And have they delivered on that? They have not. They have not. They have failed again for the 7th budget in a row. They said they wouldn't put up GST. John Key himself said he would never put up GST. Where is it now? It's at 15%, a broken promise. He said that they would increase wages by $7,000 by the end of next year. Now they're saying it'll be 2019. They said they'd increase jobs. Now they're saying that's pushed out to 2019 as well. This is the government of broken promises. And in this budget, we've seen them give with one hand and take with another. We've seen some sensible steps toward making sure beneficiaries have a little more money in their pocket. That some beneficiaries will. We've got to remember that the income-related rents will be offset against it. Wouldn't be surprised if the next trick is to try and look at them so that there's a zero-sum game in the next budget. We'll see. We'll see where they go with that. But these things that they have introduced have come at the expense of New Zealanders just a couple of rungs further up the ladder. They are robbing Peter to pay Paul. They have told us that 500,000 New Zealanders will miss out on the $1,000 KiwiSaver kickstart payment. That's what they told us in this election. That's how they're trying to get to surplus. They're failing, by the way, but that's how they're trying to get closer to make it look not as bad as it otherwise would look, is by robbing the future savings of young New Zealanders. This is a government that is looking at the here and now and not at New Zealand's savings future. And we know on this side of the House that it is so important to have money for investment in new ideas, for investment in small business, for savings so that we can grow our economy over time. The Australian scheme that they started after the Kirk government super scheme, savings scheme, now has $1.3 trillion in it. The Muldoon government canned that. And now we see the exact same behaviour from John Key's government. They've made 7 cuts over their time to KiwiSaver. 7 cuts. They're going down the same track as Muldoon's government. In fact, when it comes to borrowing, they're doing worse. We learnt in the budget $88 billion in debt under this government. New Zealanders pay through their taxes now about $10 million a day just in interest payments. How much? $10 million a day in interest payments. That is where this government has taken us with debt. They are a government with no vision for the future who are borrowing for today. The Financial Services Council said of the KiwiSaver cuts that this is like robbing the kids' piggy bank to head down to the pub for a beer. That is the kind of vision we have from this government. It is out of ideas, it is tired, And not just that, that is starting to hurt New Zealanders. That is starting to hurt kids in the future. And not one of them was prepared to get up in the debate on KiwiSaver and say that they hadn't taken the $1,000 for themselves, that they hadn't arranged for the savings to be gathered by their children or their families. Not one of them. But I did later read that, and I hear the member David Bennett grunting over there. I read somewhere, and he may like to verify it himself, that he didn't take the payment. And I read this actually on Twitter. Somebody was saying that that might be true. Maybe the member David Bennett is principled. He's either principled or stupid, I think, was the allegation in the Twitter sphere. However,
A point of order, David Bennett. No, I think the member's a robust member, and there was nothing that offended standing orders in the suggestions that were being made. I think quotations from Twitter, and even if the comment was made by the minister, I think doesn't come close. I think saying a member's stupid is not a breach of the standing orders. David Clark.
So this is a government that is breaking promises, promise after promise after promise. They might worry that somebody has reported somewhere else that they are stupid. They should be more worried about broken promises. That's what they should really be worried about.
Order. Yeah, there are quite a number of rulings which I think date back to the 19th century, which indicate that members don't go back to points of order once they've been ruled on, and the member just did that.
This is a government across from us that has broken promises, and they, as a government, need to face the voters of New Zealand and answer why it is that they have broken their central campaign promise to bring this government into surplus. They've promised it before in a campaign. It's the 7th deficit in a row. And if we contrast that to the last Labor government, which delivered 9 surpluses in a row, not like their 7 deficits, 9 surpluses in a row, we can see who might be the better manager of the economy. And of course, in terms of economic development, they've promised to diversify the economy. Well, they haven't promised to do that. They've said they'll grow the exports as a percentage of our overall economy. They said they'd get it to 40%. Well, it's now below 30%, and it's going backwards. It's around 27%. It's due to drop again next year, according to their own forecast. They have failed to diversify the economy. This is a government of broken promises. It's also interesting to note in this budget, Stephen Joyce's waning influence. We've seen over recent years him play a significant role in negotiating many of the economic development initiatives of this government. In the 2013 budget, he had 6 press releases and $470 million worth of new spending. Last year's budget, it went down to 4 press releases and just $36 million worth of new, $363 million worth of new spending. Over $100 million cut on the previous budget. And this one, another $100 million cut. He only has 3 press releases and $259 million in new spending. He is a minister on the wane. They've seen the way in which he has handled the Sky City deal. We've learnt again today a 10% cut in the overall capacity of the centre. We've seen a downsized Sky City Centre that is not what was promised. Another broken promise from this government. A government that said that it would deliver on a convention centre that was world-class and iconic. Their own independent report that they commissioned said it would create a net 18 FTEs in New Zealand once it was built. 18. That was on an international world-class iconic one. The members for Hamilton should answer to their own constituents as to why it is sucking hundreds of jobs out of Hamilton, out of Rotorua and out of Taupo. This is a convention centre deal that will hurt the regions and is not the world-class iconic deal that was promised. The government's put itself over a barrel of its own making, and Stephen Joyce was right there in the midst of it. This is a government that's failing to deliver on its promises, on almost every promise it makes. It is a government out of ideas, that is tired, that is so arrogant it doesn't think it needs to answer to the public anymore on its decisions. And it's a government whose day of reckoning will come when New Zealanders stand up in the next election and say, we will not want to hear your broken promises anymore.